Marijuana is the most valuable cash crop in the world. In fact, it earns at least 4.7 million US dollars per hectare. Marijuana is capable of benefiting more than 200,000 small and large-scale farmers with a gross income of at least $36 billion per year. Marijuana industrialization can also be used for the manufacture of medicines to treat HIV/AIDS, cancers, epilepsy, asthma, severe pain. And from this industry alone, marijuana can create at least 100,000 jobs. From the medical industry, marijuana can earn Mother Zambia a minimum of 15 billion US dollars per year. Marijuana can also be used for the manufacture of diesel and petrol, and from this industry alone, it can create at least 200,000 jobs and manage to earn Mother Zambia a minimum of 3 billion US dollars per year. Marijuana industrialization can also be used for the manufacture of paper, for example, paper for printing of money. And from this industry alone, marijuana can create at least 50,000 jobs and manage to earn Mother Zambia a minimum of 300 million US dollars per year. Marijuana industrialization can also be used for the manufacture of hand, body and hair creams, and from this industry alone it can manage to create at least 100,000 jobs and earn Mother Zambia a minimum of 2 billion US dollars per year. Marijuana can be used for manufacture of bus and car body parts, helmets, and from this industry alone it can create a minimum of 200,000 jobs and manage to generate for Mother Zambia a minimum of 3 billion US dollars per year. Marijuana can also be used for the manufacture of nutritional drinks, juices, creams, and from this industry alone, marijuana can create at least 200,000 jobs and manage to earn for Mother Zambia at least 500 million US dollars per year. Marijuana industrialization can also be used for the manufacture of textiles, clothes, canvas shoes, turkeys, and from this industry alone, marijuana can create at least 40,000 jobs and manage to generate income for Mother Zambia in excess of 1.5 US dollars per year. Help Zambia create thousands of jobs. Billions of dollars in profits will be made. And now get ready for the greatest debate ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may please remain seated. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the members of the diplomatic corps, representatives from the political parties that are debating tonight, members of the civil society present, or should I simply say, all protocols observed. At this moment in time, I would like to call upon Father Cleophas Lungu, the Secretary General of the Zambia Episcopal Conference, for the opening prayer. Father, please.
Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you for the gift of our country. We thank you for the gift of our lives. You created us. You created this country. Though different by language, by tribe, you have molded us into one family called Zambia. We ask you, Lord, to continue blessing our unity of purpose. Shower upon our land the gift of peace, the gift of justice, and the gift of fairness. May harmony prevail upon our land, even as we prepare for the 20th of January presidential elections. Continue to journey with us so that we may love one another, even though we differ in opinion, we differ in association politically. For this evening, Lord, grant that this event may be a feast, a banquet of knowledge. Afford us an opportunity to know who our leaders will be. Give us a sense of judgment, of discernment, and an opportunity for people to make informed decisions. Bless our moderator, bless our presidential candidates, bless our media houses, that they may communicate that which is true, that which is good, and that which is beautiful, and that is Zambia. We ask you to send us the Holy Spirit to guide our deliberations today, now and forever. We ask all this through our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with
not as a means of discrimination, ladies and gentlemen, but very clear to see that out of the 11 candidates in this year's election, the only female candidate, a former minister in various portfolios, Edith Nawapi on the FDD ticket. Next to the FDD, on the UPND ticket, contesting in his 4th election, and seen in this particular election as one of the contenders, but everybody is an equal contender, Hakainde Hichilema on the UPND ticket. Some call him the Obama of Zambian politics. He is standing on the NAREP ticket, Elias Chipimo Jr., ladies and gentlemen. To the live audience and the viewers at home, as well as the many listeners, we can rest assured that tonight we've got eloquent orators and fluent speakers. We promise a splendid debate. To the candidates, a quick run-through of the ground rules. Our first round will accord you 3 minutes each in which to briefly sell yourselves to the audience, the viewers at home, and the listeners. Brief profile about yourselves and your political career, and indeed why you're aspiring for Zambia's top job. Later on, we'll get to discuss various issues of Zambia's economy, governance, and other social issues, including health and sanitation. There's a digital clock timer there. In each round, you will each be given 2 minutes in which to respond to a question that I will pose. Thereafter, you will be given free interactive debate in which you are allowed to rebuttal, to interject per se, or even give views or speak out on views that you do not agree with regarding your colleagues. But we propose that we want to see, and we do hope that we will see a lot of mature debate. We want to hear and listen to more of your ideas, but we want a very interactive debate. Each round is 25 minutes, but out of those 25 minutes, you're given the first 2 minutes equal time in which to say something about that particular topic.
That is very, very important for all of us. As you see, all of us here, the motives from all of us is to save our country. And it's very clear, it's a noble motive, it's a motive that is very, very transparent. Beneath that motive, ladies and gentlemen, you need to look at all of us. And I think what will differentiate us candidates is not how eloquent we present ourselves, but how we deal with the issues that are affecting our country. And I think that before we come to those issues, the question before us was, who are we? And I want to spend the next few minutes to tell you who Edith Nawapi is. I'm a Zambian, I'm a mother. I'm educated from the University of Zambia. I got a bachelor's degree in economics and business. I was privileged that I was spotted to go for further education on Her Majesty's government support in cooperation with our country. I went to the University of Surrey and went to the Imperial College of Science and Technology. I worked in the public service as a civil servant for 8 years as energy economist. Further on, in the early 1990s, we discovered that there can be no democracy without, there can be no development without democracy. And therefore, I joined a team of young people. We started agitating for change from one-party state to the multi-party state. I was in this group, and we were the founders of the movement for multi-party democracy. From there, I served in 4 portfolios, and in 2001, I found myself at crossroads again. And we did have to part with the movement for multi-party democracy, and we formed the Forum for Democracy and Development. Our first president is now late, may he so rest in peace, General Christian Tembo. And in 2005, I was elected the president of this party I'm privileged to lead. I'm an experienced public servant. I was Minister of Finance, and I think that in terms of the issues at hand, that is addressing poverty, we therefore are here to find who amongst us can address the core issues that this country is facing. The challenges before us relate to our poor beginning, our poor foundation, that we didn't invest in our children so that they could develop, we could develop the human capacity for this country. Whether you talk about mining...
Thank you so much, candidate. Thank you very much. 3 minutes is up. Thank you so much. The UPND, if you can just mute the microphone for us.
We have a huge challenge, and we need to ensure that we deal with this issue of unemployment. As a Green Party, our first strategy is to engage in agriculture. And when we talk about agriculture, we don't mean this manga agriculture of maize and so on and so forth. We're talking about high-value crops, and we've identified medicinal marijuana as one of our high-value crops. Through this high-value crop, we anticipate, first of all, to generate somewhere around $15 billion per annum from our calculations, generates about 200,000 jobs in the Zambia National Service, and we are able to also create some value chain nodes in various rural settings, because we're going to have 129 farms countrywide where these youths are going to be employed. And we're also going to create credit unions, which will be financed through the monies we're talking about. You see, as a Green Party, we're mindful that currently there's already a budget which has been approved. And all the programs that we're going to run ourselves are beside this budget, because we know this money is already allocated. So from the $15 billion we're talking about, this is where we're going to run programs for the youths and any other programs that we have earmarked for this election. That is how we, the Green Party, are going to proceed. And
thank you so much. Your 2 minutes is up. The FDD.
Thank you very much. Youth unemployment in Africa as a whole, and Zambia specifically, has reached endemic levels. The simple reason is that from independence to date, the investment in technical skills on the African continent is the lowest as compared to other continents. If you look at Zambia and look at the status of the child now, you will find that there's a great disparity between the children in peri-urban areas and the urban areas, between the children in Kabulonga and the children in Namushakeni. And there are circumstances depending on who they become in adult life. You'll find a young girl of 13 dropping out of school. A few days later, she's a mother, and that child is doomed to fail. So the problem of unemployment in Zambia cannot be solved by one solution. We need to acknowledge that our start was a false start and begin to redefine our curriculum to include survival skills when children get out of school. And as for us, what we think we should reform
to emphasize on, I will guide, but as I guide, allow me just to add certain key pointers from concerns we've been receiving. You are going to be taking over if one of you here is president after Tuesday next week. a government which has put a freeze on employment, a job moratorium. There is a wage freeze. Pay as you earn for many employees still remains very high, and they are complaining about this. And those are some of the issues that the millions watching and listening tonight want to hear from you. Allow me to start with the FDD, because they said the 2 minutes was not enough. FDD.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think it's very, very important that this issue of unemployment of young people be given adequate thought. There will never be a time, even if we opened a mine in each village, that every Zambian will be employed. And that's where we have made a mistake. We send our children to school and they are all asked the simple question, what do you want to become when you finish school? And the simple answer is, I want to be a lawyer, a doctor. No one ever says, I want to own a mine. And we need to change that mindset. And I think that that is so important. That's where, as a party, we believe that we need to retool our curriculum so that children begin to aspire to make money. We don't want to end up 50 years from now with a population of 30 million Zambians who are all queuing up for a job. I personally believe we need to start telling our children that they too can be owners of business. And we talk about the wage freeze. It has come about in a package of policies that are uncoordinated, whether you look at the mining royalties, whether you look at the imposition of the SI on NGOs and the church. It is a government which is grappling with expenditures which are planned, and therefore wage freeze is part of it. I think we are all aware that the wage bill for this country is said to be above what is expected. But I think what is the critical issue which is missing from this particular government of patriotic fund is dialogue. And that dialogue, whether it's mines, whether it's business, whether it's students who cannot get access to loans, or whether it's social security, I think that's what we've been missing as a nation.
Thank you so much. We'll allow somebody else to pick it up. Thank you so much. You can mute your microphone for us. Anyone of the candidates?
Right. Thank you very much, moderator. I think it's important that we address some of the issues specifically.
Most 60% of the revenue of our taxation is coming from pay as you earn. It's in fact more than what we're getting from mining. So we as a Green Party are saying, let's forget about this nonsense. Let's go and do things which are more serious. Let's go into high-value crops and let's bring about innovation.
Thank you so much.
Innovation that move this country forward.
Thank you so much. Thinking outside the box, allow me at this particular point in time, candidates, you forgive us. The debate that wraps up the round.
Most of the species, we don't have any rhinos anymore. Even those that have tried to keep it in the game park, you go and still hunt them down. When you look at what has transpired in terms of managing our environmental resources, I think it's pathetic, and the time has come that now we should have someone who has passion for these resources so that our future generations are going to benefit. What shall we do ourselves as Green Party? Increase budget allocation from the current 0.4% to about 4%, 5% per annum, so that we are able to manage these resources effectively. And then also, the manner in which we have resourced, for example, the Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, is pathetic. 1992, we created ZEMA, or ECZ at that time. Today, ZEMA is only in 5 districts of the 129 districts. How can they manage environmental protection? No wonder wherever you go, the resources are going and going very fast, but we need to turn around that issue.
The MLA.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. In view of the bigness of this subject, let me limit my discussion to the issue of health. We are
not yet covering health.
No, I'm talking about sanitation, drainage, and clean water. Thank you. Because that is really what is going to determine the kind of pressure that is going to be on the healthcare budget. We are of the view that the issue of the environment is a wide subject when it comes to going beyond just maybe the cleanliness of our country. May I talk about the issues of excellence that become the reason for my involvement in the political process. That if we do not deal with the dirt that we see in our countries, we deal with lack of sanitation and we belittle that issue. We belittle the issue of poor drainage, and we belittle the issue of the provision of clean water in a country that sits on 40% of the water table in the region. I think that we are going to be applying too much pressure on healthcare. And if you say we're going to discuss that later, I think that it's important for me to mention that in the absence of us taking a stand on ensuring that we start from providing the necessary basic needs in terms of water, which is clean. And I think that moving forward, I did talk about the issue of the vendors at some point, that we have so many vendors in our country that are selling on the streets, selling tomatoes, selling fish, selling meat, and there's flies there. We have a lot of flies, we've got maggots, and the whole place is a breeding place for death. It's a breeding place for sickness and disease. And I think that as government, as MMD government, the New Hope MMD government, my commitment is to ensure that we live in an environment that cuts down the health bill by half, by ensuring that public health becomes a priority in ensuring that our country saves itself from killing itself.
Policy towards agriculture sector reforms, or basically how you're going to deal with the whole agriculture setup in this country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. The good thing about the MMD is that our policies are extremely clear, and there's a framework within which we operate. Many, many years ago, we realized that the most important thing for our people is agriculture, food, and food security. Now, we are all aware that the food that we eat in Zambia is mostly provided to us by the small-scale farmers, not necessarily the commercial farmers, the small-scale farmers. My grandmother in Chinsali, my brother there in Katuba, who go out there and want to grow their maize so that they can sell it and then pay for their bills for their children, go to the clinic, to take their children to school. And we realized that in order to enhance the issue of agriculture, we needed to partner with the small scale and the subsistence farmers. I will continue with that program of ensuring that we provide the necessary assistance to this vulnerable group so that they can continue to provide the necessary output from their activities. Secondly, we are going to do something else in the New Hope movement for multi-party democracy, and that is we are going to make sure that the agricultural implements, tractors and things that are used as equipment in agriculture, I'm going to give them a 2-year moratorium that they are not going to be paying duty so that they can import those implements so that they can enhance and expand the capacity of production in agriculture. We need to do that as quickly as possible, and MMD has done this before in other sectors. So I think that we need to work with the small-scale farmers, ensure that their needed fertilizers and their needed inputs are given to them on time. FRA must not monopolize in this issue. We are going to ensure that we liberalize the market so that the farmer who works hard at night can be able to sell it to the highest bidder so that he can get enough money to be able to invest in the next season.
Green Party. Thank you very much. Green Party, the solution is very simple. First of all, we abolish the Food Reserve Agency. We also abolish this farmer input support program. And in place of FRA, we shall revert to cooperative unions at district, at provincial level. This FRA was a structural adjustment program of 1993, and all over the world, structural adjustment programs have failed, and this is one of them. That's why up to now they're telling us that 48% of the farmers have not been paid. So we're going to
fish and what they can do with the fish, can the fish and be able to sell it not only within Zambia. There's a border there with Congo, and they are never satisfied with things that come from Zambia. I think we are not taking advantage of ensuring that we utilize our God-given strategic positioning of being a landlocked country surrounded by a huge market that is around us. So I think that our next move as a movement for multi-party democracy under my leadership is to add value. Whether it's pineapples in Mwinilunga, we should not just get the pineapple and eat it and throw it away. We are going to make sure that we can it, we work with it, and export it to the countries that are surrounding us. And I think that is one way of creating jobs. That is one way of exploiting our own resources as a country. That's one other way of growing our economy in our country by ensuring that businesses are given an opportunity to add value.
Green Party.
Well, thank you very much. The story of value addition is not new in this country. 1964, when Dr. Kaunda took over, that was the main thrust, value addition. And that's why we're talking about the pineapple factory and so on and so forth all over the country. The biggest problem which we have is capital to value add. Our farmers don't have that kind of capital to value add. And as a Green Party, our position is that we're going to create credit unions. And these credit unions shall be well-resourced, partially from the Citizens Economic Empowerment Fund. 70% of that fund shall go towards credit unions, specifically for adding value in various areas, because we're going to create what we're calling as the developmental nodes for agriculture, where we shall add value and assist the farmers access the capital through credit unions. And then part of the support is going to come from the same marijuana story. We have earmarked $1 billion to go into this credit union scheme, which shall operate. Thirdly, there will be a young farmers fund, where again 70% of the current Youth Economic Empowerment Fund shall be directed. And this fund shall be used now by the youths to run a number of activities in the area in terms of value addition. Because like I've said earlier, our biggest challenge is not to know how to add value. That we know. Our biggest challenge is we don't have capital. Provide that capital, we should be able to add value, and all this story we're talking about of value addition will be normal.
Thank you very much. FDD.
Thank you very much. I think at independence, someone thought that farming is maize, and we have been living in that nightmare, that maize, in fact, means agriculture.
The particular issue of marijuana is for the Green Party. So allow me to take another question on agriculture. Let's take the lady behind. Let's take the lady behind there.
Okay. My question is related to your strategy for managing the post-harvest losses normally that we incur. After having a very good harvest, I think we know that there are reports from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock that show that we are losing up to 32% of what we actually grow. So what is your strategy to make sure that we are not wasting resources to produce a crop that we are failing to manage very well? My second question is related to private sector.
Just one question, thank you. We don't have enough time. So let's begin with the Green Party. How will you manage the gold that grows?
Thank you very much. I've made it very clear that the marijuana we are talking about for medicinal purposes, not for recreational purposes, shall be grown under the Zambia national states in high security zones in 109 parts. So the aspect of abuse is out because the regime under the military, which shall be in charge or which shall be charged with the responsibility to ensure that we grow this crop in a manner which is secure, there is the protection to the children, as our sister was worried about, that it shall be grown under that high security zone. Now, you all know too well that our army, our soldiers, have been very, very disciplined in a manner in which they've discharged their functions. They are at the moment in custody of serious lethal arms, and none of those arms are on the streets. None are pilfered to endanger the society. And in the same manner that they are protecting those guns, they are protecting those bombs, they are protecting those weapons of mass destruction, they shall protect the high security zones where we shall grow this marijuana. So no child.
Thank you so much, Green Party. Let's get answers, candidates, beginning with Dr. Mumba of the MMD on the question raised.
Lusaka here, Kabwe, Ndola, and Chingola, those we shall pump into money to ensure that we're able to manage the strategic reserves. The other farmers, we move them away from this notion of maize. Let's do other things, and that's why we're saying we're going to get a lot of them, these small-scale farmers, engage them in the project we're talking about, so that they're able to make adequate resources, adequate money, not this petty money they're getting from FRA and government, from maize. We think that if we go that route, where we engage our small-scale farmers, who constitute almost 70% of our population, those that are in rural areas, if we engage them with this scheme we're talking about, then they should be able to benefit significantly from the $15 billion that we're talking about. And then the poverty shall be reduced significantly. That's what we're saying.
Thank you so much. If you could just mute the microphone for us. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a round on agriculture, water and sanitation. We have reached half the mark of our 3-hour debate. Again, would like to apologize because we were off air for a couple of minutes, especially for viewers watching us across Africa and indeed across the country on movie television, and all those that are listening to us through our partner broadcaster, Hot FM, and indeed other stations, Zambezi FM in Livingston, Radio Ichengelo on the Copperbelt, as well as Radio Liseli in Mongu and Yatsani Radio right here in Lusaka. A quick reminder, and thank you so much to our partner sponsors, Action Aid Zambia, the US government, CSO Sun, as well as Center for Trade Policy and Development, SACOD, the NGOCC, the Platform for Social Protection, as well as Zambia Medical Association and FODEP. We're going to go for a commercial break to allow the candidates just to refresh for 15 minutes. When we come back, the audience, you will be given more time to answer questions. We'll have a round specifically for question and answer. And I'd like to remind you, please, no statements. Questions brief and straight to the point. But also, before the round of question and answer, we'll look at other sectors of national interest. We go for a commercial break. We'll be back shortly. A big round of applause for the candidates. And education. I know that in your earlier remarks, many of you spoke and touched on health and education. Critical issues in these sectors. Let's begin with the FDD.
Thank you very much. Welcome back from the break. These two subjects are clearly intertwined. And as I opened in my remarks, the health of a nation and the position in poverty at which we are is clearly a reflection of what we have not done in the past. And as the World Bank clearly states, there's clearly a difference in the access to education depending on the circumstances of a child in Zambia. And therefore, as a nation, we should be looking forward to a time when a child born in the rural areas should have the same privileges and human development capacity as a child born in Several Road. This is not happening, and this is what has conditioned our poverty. And health is also a factor of the circumstances of our children. Those that are born to poor single mothers and uneducated have less chance of survival. It is also a condition of our nutrition status as a nation. And I would like to state that whether it is sanitation, education, and access to clean and sanitary housing for our families and children. That is what has formed us as a nation, and that's what has shaped Africa's poverty. If we are to move forward as a continent, investment in education, and I'm not just talking about white-collar jobs, I'm talking about building up entrepreneurship skills, technical skills, so that our children can survive and not be offloaded on the street. And therefore, investment in education are of vital importance. To achieve this, it's not just about a
very tight time for two very big subjects. But let me just share with you why health is so important to me personally. When my father was flown to Lusaka in order that we could save his life, my mother died in the road accident, but my father was in the casualty ward. And the morning that I went back to check on him, I found a dead body on a trolley next to his bed. And this dead body was there for over 3 hours. Clearly, the abnormal in this country has become very normal. And if we're going to change things, again, we need to get back to what is at the core of the problem. It's about leadership.
In apartheid system, it took an educated person who read law to say that we are all created equal. As long as education is not pushed in Zambia, our people on this continent
Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you so much. Just like I guided earlier, candidates, viewers, and members of the audience, you have each had an equal 2-minute bite to these two very broad subjects of health and education. Out of the 25 minutes, you are remaining with 15 minutes in which now I am giving you time to either emphasize or rebuttal to anything you do not agree with, and I will be very specific that I'm not trying to give equal time on this, but trying to give chance for each of you to really react. Let me guide you with education. Last year we experienced a very tragic incident at the University of Zambia. A young lady taking her life because she couldn't access a bursary scheme. Those are the levels to which our education have gone to. And all of you are making sweet promises, but the Zambians watching tonight are saying, who shall deliver and how will you deliver? Let's begin with the FDD.
Thank you very much. I think you're right. This country has been treated to promises for the last 50 years. And I hear my brother, Dr. Nevas Mumba, saying that we need a person of good character, of good integrity. I want you to know that this country does not need a good person in State House. This country needs a constitution that should check the excesses of individuals. Never again should this country trust in the benevolence of one person. So voters out there, don't look for a good person. Look for a good constitution. Look for a person with capacity to feel, understand, and acknowledge that you out there, you have the ability to have solutions to your problems. And you see, what we experienced at the University of Zambia is a tragic mistake that we have made since independence, to think that Lusaka has all the solutions. If in fact we had decentralized the way we deliver tertiary education and not politicize it, my daughter would not have met her death in the way that she did. I was at her funeral, and I realized what the students told me as Member of Parliament for Munali in 2006, that they wanted a loan scheme. It's the students who wanted the loan scheme. It's not the politicians. The politicians have failed to deliver that particular request. So I say that I think the Constitution, coupled with the
In 86, somewhere around October, government decided to withdraw or to scale down significantly support towards education because it was a structural adjustment program. And what happened later on, those of us who stood strongly from higher institutions of learning, and I was the president of the student union, I got expelled for that. If I was a weak soul, I would have committed suicide later on, because under the counter regime, there was what was called blacklisting. I couldn't get a job, I couldn't do anything, and to finish me up. But I was very strong, I stood firm. Now today I realize that we need, it's very, very important to ensure that we provide the resources for these kids, because without doing so, they're going to be committing suicide if they're not strong. And that's why we're saying as a Green Party, when I look at the education budget, the education budget of 8.6 billion, which is about $1.3 billion, out of this, what goes towards bursaries is only 1.6% of the education budget, or indeed 0.3% of the total budget. This is nothing. Why are we doing so? Because we have confined our resource envelopes to copper and the taxation from the workers. That's why in moving forward, we try to deal with this situation. We say let's grow the economy. I totally agree with my brother H.H. when he says you need someone who's going to assist to grow economy. I think I stand out as one candidate who is in that direction, who is intended to grow the economy by $15 billion. And if you can do that, we say we're going to allocate towards the education sector for bursaries alone, $2 billion from the marijuana fund. And then the issue of committing suicide by children is going to be the story of the past. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the Green Party. We have about 3 minutes, candidates from the 15 minutes. I want to be very transparent to the audience and the viewers. We have about 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Dr. Mumba, very quickly, I know you want to respond.
Thank you so much. To my colleagues, I just want to raise a concern that moving forward as a country, I have heard this over and over again, that Zambia needs an economist to lead it forward. To limit the presidency to one area, which is so broad with so many needs. There are about 4 countries in the Southern Hemisphere that were led by economists at one point, and those countries did not perform economically. The reason is simple. The reason is simple. The reason is simple. A president, I am a pastor, I've been a pastor for 30 years, looking after the needs
in Zambia to where we are today.
Thank you so much. We are discussing the issue of foreign policy, the MMD.
Thank you so much, Costa. Allow me to make a statement here that the privilege I had to serve my country as ambassador to Canada helped me understand that the truth of the matter today as we speak, diplomacy has moved from political diplomacy to economic diplomacy everywhere. Those are the engagements that we are making. Our position as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, and with the vast experience that we have acquired in this regard, is that we need to identify, firstly, the bilateral relations we have with our other countries have to be dependent on what is Zambia going to benefit from that relationship and stick with it. For instance, if you think that Angola is doing very well in oil and we don't understand it, I want to sign a bilateral agreement with Angola in that area so that we can go back and forth to benefit from their expertise, because there's nothing that has not yet been done by somebody. We go over to Israel, probably we do with Israel agriculture. We go to USA and we deal with matters of democracy and how we enhance and build the capacity in these areas. We have to be intelligent in the way we engage with diplomacy. And I think that, you know, you go to countries like Germany, they are very specific in their greatness, and we sort of join them in that area and sign the bilateral agreements that are going to economically benefit our country. I think the days of having 15, 20 members of staff in a mission in Ghana, for instance, in the United States, just to have relatives have a job, those days are over. We don't need that. I think, from my experience having been ambassador to Canada, I found out that 4 people can run an embassy effectively with the support of the local staff. It's just a bloated system. So we agree that in our bilateral relations,
thank you so much, the MMD. Thank you. The Green Party.
Thank you very much. I think in my introductory remarks, I did indicate that I've worked closely with the SADC, the AU, the World Bank, and EU in terms of policy formulation policy implementation, but working from the advocacy side. And in this journey of 15 years, I've had the honor of engaging, for example, the World Bank at the level where I'm meeting the president of the World Bank.
Doing in the process is importing the behavior of pangas that we have today. You can actually relate that to some of these relationships. And if you import pangas, the behavior of suppressing citizens, no economic space, no freedoms, human rights, no natural universal rights, and you say that is good because it's ideological, it's going to damage your country. So we are very clear as UPND in those aspects. And we'll be basically looking at those countries that we share common values. It's very important. People say, show me your friends, and I will know what type of person you are. To us in UPND, it's very important.
FDD. Thank you very much. As has been put, the 2 minutes is really a constraint to put everything, but I suppose you are putting us on a quiz so that you know how fast or how well we think. So I did actually say poverty is a danger to national and international security, and I did mention that we live in a global world. And our global world is defined by the UN Charter and the contracts that we enter into. And I think that in moving forward, that's what we need to define. You don't just support your friend because that person is your friend. And that is what I believe has been wrong from a long time ago, where you find governments, just because you are friends with the president of this banana republic, then you support even something which is not right. I think we have to define our relationship in such a way that we stand up for what is right in the global environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, to the Green Party.
Well, as you all know, the Greens are peacemakers. We believe in non-violence. And for that reason, the Green Party policy on international relations, one, we shall continue providing troops to go and assist in missions that are, where there's war, where there's turmoil. Number two, we shall resource the Anti-Terrorism Act adequately, such that we're going to have now special troops, special forces that are going to ensure we have battle-ready troops to deal with terrorism, not only here in Zambia, but even abroad, if need be. Thirdly, we are aware that we have treaties under AU, UN, and commitments made in there. All those treaties we shall respect as the Greens. And lastly, we shall ensure that when we are in
we got to commit to things. Why would you seek leadership without clarity? Right? We've committed to delivering the Constitution before the 2016 general elections. We've signed the social contract with the Grand Coalition on the Constitution. We are part of the Grand Coalition. The PF have refused to sign that in a social contract. It's another Don Kubeba. And people are listening to these things. In the next issue, we want to bring back the rule of law. Under the PF, there's a total breakdown in the rule of law. Look at the abuse of the Public Order Act. We don't want to continue with that. We don't want to continue with victimization, vindictiveness, because people have different political persuasions from you. We must put an end to this stuff. Focus on poverty reduction and job creation. We want to make sure that the NGO Act, which is restrictive, is repealed immediately. We want to make sure that we have a judiciary that is functioning, that is delivering justice, that we can trust that we have recourse to a judiciary that is efficient, that delivers justice timely. Not what we have today. That's a fact. We know that. And we cannot continue running the country on that basis. It doesn't help anybody. It affects even other economic programs.
Thank you so much, the UPND. The MMD.
Thank you so much. There's so much to say. But let me restrict myself to the issue that has been raised in regard to the Constitution. I think all of us here in front are committed to this. The MMD has signed the social contract in this regard. We have signed the social contract because we believe that in order for Zambia to change, we have to change the way we govern ourselves, like President Nawakwi has said. I do, however, hold a different view. Our party believes that, and I think you can get the comfort from the MMD, the New Hope MMD. You can get the comfort. It's important for me to distinguish that because, you know, the Bible says the old has passed and the new has come. So we are moving forward to newness. But the goodness about the New Hope MMD is that we have experience of governance. Experience of governance, which means our promises are always going to be measured and realistic and reasonable. It is important when you speak to people to come across like you understand there are certain limitations that you might have. For instance, we are committed to delivering this constitution in the shortest time possible, preferably before 2016 for the election. Now, because we have governed before, we are not just speaking from off the cuff because we've never sat in that seat. Once you have governed, you
economy up $20 billion. That's I think a shame. And we need a leadership now that is going to move you into a quantum leap in terms of economic development. And the Green Party, from this debate, has demonstrated that we are capable of growing this economy up to $35 billion within a year. We are very specific. We are giving you
Thank you so much. Thank you, the MMD.
Fellow Zambians, for 50 years now, we have heard the promises of all of us politicians. Zambia deserves better. We are in our current situation because we forgot to be responsible in voting for quality rather than just promises made by politicians. There's very little faith in politicians today, and the reason is simple, that over the past 50 years, politicians have taken advantage of the very poor, talked about poverty, and when they leave office, poverty continues to grow. I believe that Zambia has a chance now in this Jubilee year to elect a Jubilee president. A president that understands from his heart the pain, the fears of the Zambian on the street, in the village, that can connect with them.
Thank you so much,
and make the promise
MMD.
to get them out of their situation.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, up in the public gallery, the viewers at home and the millions of listeners, a big round of applause for our 5 candidates for tonight. It has not been an easy task, candidates, before you walk off. We're still live on TV. Thank you for those congratulations. It has not been an easy task. Would like to say before you walk off, candidates, thank you so much. Before you walk off, we're still doing our live broadcast. Thank you so much to all of you, your excellencies and ambassadors, the audience in the gallery there, our supporting partners once again, Action Aid Zambia, thank you so much. Caritas Zambia, thank you so much. The NGOCC, thank you so much. We also say a big thank you to the US government, another big thank you to the Zambia Medical Association, the Platform for Social Protection, the Center for Trade Policy and Development. Hot FM, our partner radio station, Zambezi FM in Livingston, Radio Ichengelo on the Copper Belt, Radio Liseli in Mongu, Yatsani Radio, as well as BBC Media Action, and indeed Movie Television. We provided a platform for all the 11 candidates. Remember, in a democracy, all 11 are equal. Zambia.
Green Party, Peter Sinkamba, man of action to man of solution. Think outside the box. Hey, party dola, hey, party wish.
Bena Zambia, Bena Zambia, Bena Zambia, Bena Zambia, Marinkani, Kani Marinkani, Kani Green Party, Marinkani, Kani Marinkani, Kani Party. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party.
Welcome to the LEGALIZE family. Sinkamba bakamba na leta solution. Bakamba man of action to man of solution. Tabo bakamba tukala pangila kwe fiti fyale kana wamfu. Kule miti bagai kwa bakona industry textiles boy wise bate. Tukala pangila mama pepa si fyale kana boy nishu. Uchursi wamfu mapo bakamba se youth mulira ile style. Manje bakai kubengi cha musatenesi wakamba 2 million jobs nishi aikala wamfu. Tepo benefeka bagai na diesel boy futira ile tulapanga muri tobo ice bate petulo byonse muntu wandira ile bakamba nishi chalo chanonka tukalapanga 15 billion bakamba pay inka moema dollars indela ndapo boy wam na tupampa boy legalize bakamba green party boy sinkamba green party legalize think outside the box.
Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Bena Zambia, tieni tigwizane. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party. Marinkani, kani ya Togo. Marinkani, kani ya Green Party. Iseni tumanya kapi moneni uko twafumang twachula pafulang twabepwa pafula. Iseni tumanya kapi moneni uko twafumang twachula pafulang twabepwa pafulang. Tivoti dendi na chinja ndepela Green Party na chinja ndepela Green Party. Legalize ganja, legalize ganja, legalize ganja.